I'm Joe Kashiwagi. As you can see, I'm 23. I was married a year ago, and I had my first baby a month and a half ago. So that's who I am. Like you know, some of the unique conditions that I grew up in were I was spoiled rotten. I had all these friends, all these siblings and friends that I could hang out with, all the toys I could ever need. I was taken on trips. And I was in a wealthy neighborhood, and really, like Jacob said, no one thought I would ever amount to anything because I was so spoiled. My sister would always get mad at me, telling me, "You're so spoiled, you're not going to do anything. You know, you don't want to do anything in your life." But for me, it was a great life. But one of the problems that came up was with my father. And as you can see, him on the right, or on your left, he produced for the family, he did all these things, while me, I was the one taking everything, consuming, selfish, and I was irresponsible. And so this is the problem that my father had, and he had this really big issue, and he didn't know how to really get over it. And just to show you how bad the issue was, these are some of the things I would say to my father. You might recognize it if you're a parent or just anywhere. So I would say, I didn't do it. What do you want me to do? I don't care. I'm busy. Why are you upset? If it gets ruined, we have enough money, we'll just buy a new one. I don't know why you're getting so upset. Another example is our bird of paradise is in front of our house. He would always brag about it for our neighborhood. He'd say, "We have the best birds in the whole neighborhood. No one else has this." And for me, I was thinking, yeah, they're pretty cool. I didn't think much of them. But one day, came home, we didn't water them for like 2 months, and they're dead. So you know what he did? He got mad. He was furious with us. He said, "How could you let this happen to our plant? It was so beautiful. We spent so much time." And for me, I just said, "Dad, why are you so upset? It's a plant. We'll go buy a new one. We'll plant it in. It's not a big deal." But these are some of the things I would say. One day, there'd be a hole in the wall. He'd come home, "What happened to the wall?" I said, "When did that happen? I didn't notice that was there." And all these issues, and so he's trying to figure out what to do with a kid who doesn't care, irresponsible. So, from my point of view, what's wrong with being a renter? I like renting. It's easy. But the discussion I want you guys to go into groups is, what have you tried in your life? If you're a parent, or maybe with a spouse, or any of your siblings, what have you tried in your life? Because you have this problem that your children or other people are consuming while you produce. And what have you tried in your family, and what would you do to deal with this situation? So I can tell all of you had a lot of experiences, a lot of years of parenting maybe, or just friends that have kind of taught you different things, what you've tried. There's a lot of different solutions. But the one I wanted to look into is the one that was used in our family. And the solution, the common belief is, you have to tell your kids what to do. You have to control them. You have to punish them so that you can help them learn, really to become a successful person. And my whole life, people have taught me this. They've tried to tell me this. But in looking back in my life and looking at my parents, the way I learned and the process I learned the best was when I was given control to do what I wanted. And that's really the no rules methodology. But in people's minds, they're thinking, no rules? You're going to have kids biting on cords. You're going to have kids with machetes. There's not a rule that you don't have a machete, so he can pick one up. all these crazy imaginations. But in reality, the no-rule environment, it just means that I had total freedom to do what I wanted and that there was no punishment. So it doesn't mean that, you'd let your kids go out in the street, get run over, but you wouldn't punish them, but you try and help them. And some examples, I'm the only one of my siblings who does not know how to play the piano. And it was a big thing. Everyone was taught how to play the piano, but for me, I wasn't. But I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking, how is this ever going to work? So I'm going to go over my experience. And there's 5 different things that I felt were beneficial for me as this no-rules methodology. So first, I looked at myself when I felt like I had rules and when I didn't feel like I had rules. And I felt when I had rules, I was always told what to do. I never thought for myself. I just did things because that's the way it was. I wanted to get to help my teacher, do whatever. But when you switch to the no rules, I couldn't blame anyone for anything in my life. I was accountable. It's because no one tried to control me with these rules and all these different things. So that's why I felt more accountable. And just like my brother, I had these freedoms. And people are so scared what their kids will do with the freedom. And that's what we did. We did the common thing. We spent hours on video games. We did all these things. We did weird things that, your parents were like, you probably shouldn't do that, but we did them. But what happened was, when I first got into college, and it put me to the test, I did the things which I learned from. And no one had to tell me what to do, because I learned it from myself. And the things I used to do went away. And the things I do now are totally different. And some people think, right, you have a child, there's all these terrible things in the world that they could be exposed to. So they think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to protect my child. I'm going to put all these rules in place so they will never be able to experience these bad things in life. But what I found out was a lot different, because I studied my friends very well, and I found that they had some of these same rules, right? They had these rules placed on them by their parents. And although it appeared, right, at the beginning, they followed their parents' suggestions, their rules, all these punishments, in the background, they really weren't. They would stay out late, they'd get grounded, but that didn't stop them. They would do chores, but they'd have a terrible attitude, so it would take twice as long. It wouldn't even get work done. But the biggest thing, they were always mischievous, they're always trying to keep something away from their parents, like, I'm going to do this so they don't see it, right? But the most influential thing right here is when they went to college, all my friends I thought were really good at classes, really good at getting straight A's. For some reason, all the straight A's, they turned into C's. One of my friends, who I thought was the smartest one, he went into college, and he had to drop all of his classes that first semester. It's because in his mind he thought he had all these rules, and when he came down to it, he tried to do everything that his parents stopped him from doing. And so the question that it becomes is, which would you rather have? Would you rather have your child make a mistake at the beginning, go into the world, and he learns from his own mistake? Or would you rather have a child who's been sheltered his whole life, never given the option, go into the world and make a mistake in the later end of his life? And we're not saying that this is always how it happens. But as children learn, you can't control them. They learn for themselves. And so having the no rules helps them to really find out for themselves and to implement. So how does rules increase transparency? Well, just think of it simply. A child steals. He feels bad about stealing. But which parent would he more likely talk to? The parent right here who's going to punish him, or the parent who's more understanding? Do you want your kids to talk to you? Do you want to know what's going on in their life? Then what you have to do is you have to be understanding. And no child is going to want to come to any parent, and I even learned with my wife. If she comes and she says, I spent, $90 on clothes, and I think, wow, that's a lot. And I tell her, no, you can't do that anymore. Next time she goes to spend money, she's not going to tell me. She doesn't want to come to me and get punished every time she does something. And I'm starting to learn that. I'm thinking, I wouldn't want that either. I have to learn to be more understanding. And as you do that, your kids will talk to you more. And that's what, as a parent, that's what you want. You want your kids to be able to talk to you. So I have an example. I'm at school, and my social studies teacher is telling me, I'm going to go talk to your mom, and she's not going to be like this. And I told her, go ahead and talk to my mom. She's not going to do anything. And so she gets mad, so she starts giving me detention. She gives me detention every day for a month. And just in spite of this, I go to every detention. And I'm even happy to go. I have my homework there. I go to detention. I just do my homework while I'm in detention. And she gets really frustrated. So what she does is she calls a meeting with my mother. And they sit down, they say, we need to find a solution. And, usually I wouldn't listen to my mother because as a child, I don't want to listen. But the fact that I knew I wasn't getting punished, the fact that I knew that I could do whatever I wanted, helped me to utilize my mom and to figure out what I was missing out in my life. Why am I doing this if I could go to lunch every day instead of going to detention? It's just a waste for me. Why am I being so stubborn? So it made me want to change. And I'm not telling you that if you do this, your kids will want to come and run talk to you every day. Say, oh, I want to tell you about my whole day. But the fact is that they'll be more apt to talk to you because they know that you're going to be more understanding. And with that comes the utilization of expertise. When you can talk to your parents, you're more likely to utilize their expertise. And I have all my different siblings and my parents, and all the good things that they're good characteristics. And I'm able to utilize all of them if I talk to them. So for an example, I was in my sophomore year of ASU, and I switched my degree from civil engineering to industrial. And I didn't know what to do exactly because I didn't know the classes. And I wasn't really good at planning, like you've heard. Wasn't that great at grades because, it didn't really matter that much to me. So I didn't know the school system. But I knew someone who did. And my brother Isaac, as you can see, he's very analytical, really logical. So I asked him. And it just so happens that he's in the same degree. He went through the whole degree with his program. And he's really good at certain things, at pre-planning, at getting good grades. So what happened was I spent 2 hours, just only 2 hours with him. He laid out my entire schedule. He laid out all the teachers, their grading methods, how difficult their class was going to be, which classes to take. And most students don't even get this at all. They don't ever figure it out. So it saves me hours of being in classes that I know are going to be more useless, all these hours of getting hard teachers, spending hours doing homework by just talking to my brother Isaac for 2 hours. And that's where utilization of expertise comes in. So then, another thing that I really learned was, how does no rules apply to allowing people to think? And so, I made some observations. At school, they teach you one thing. They make it so that they mold you into this one thing you need to know: mathematics, social studies, all these things. Grades are really important. Everyone's telling you what to do. You're assuming that the teacher knows the best, right? But at home, I assume my parents didn't know anything. I assume that, every child is different. They would teach me, but they would tell me, there might be a better way. So there's always a chance for me to learn for myself. And what happened was, when my teacher would ask me, what do you want to learn about? My first reaction was like a robot. I was trained to say one thing. And it was, what does she want me to say? So my whole time I'm thinking, what does she want me to say so I can get an A in the class? Well, at home, my parents were saying, what do you want to do? And I had this long list of things that I wanted to do, because my parents never told me what I should do, but they guided me into what fit me. And that's what you get with your kids. If you always tell them what to do, they become like a robot. You train them to say one thing, and if it doesn't work in every situation, it becomes risky, because they only know how to say one thing. But the biggest one that I like is, how does no rules make for happier parents? And I've seen it in my mom, and I want to tell you a story. With me and my friends, we went on top of an elementary roof, and we weren't supposed to. It was late at night, and we weren't smart. There was only one way to get on the roof, and there was only one way to exit. So the janitor, he knew the one place. So he stood there waiting for us to come down, and he had the police with him. So they sat us all down, and they said, you need to call your parents. You're not going to leave until your parents come pick you up. And it's probably, 1 o'clock at night, So everyone's thinking, oh, I better call my mom. I wonder what she's going to say, right? So the next day, my friend, he's grounded for sure, probably for a month. Me, the next day, I'm at an amusement park with my friends. We were going out and having a great time. But this caused a problem. My friend's mom called my mom up and told her, why are you not grounding Joe? Because you're making me look like the bad guy. Like I'm the person who should be responsible for this. And she said, you need to be more responsible for your child. And I came to the realization of two different things. That you have the strict parent and you have the relaxed parent. And as parents grow older, they always get more relaxed. But you can see that the strict parent will always be considered the bad guy by their children, because they're the one putting all these rules, trying to control them, right? And the child in their later years that I've seen, they always blame their parents. It was because my parents didn't raise me correctly, right? All these different things. And it makes their life more stressful, because it's not their fault, right? They're trying to do the best for their children. But in return, right, they have to put more work into it. Their kids are resentful for it. But the, relaxed parents, they're seen as the good guy. Their children will come to listen more because they're not trying to be forceful. And it's a lot less work. And for me, I was a happier child because I knew I had this, freedom. So in all this, right, I'm just telling you different things that it helped me in my life. But the true no-rules methodology is, right, most people think you should control and punish your kid. They have this expectation. I'm going to have my kid be Warren Buffett. He's going to be the most successful person alive. I'm going to structure his life where there's no way he can't succeed. But like they found out, it doesn't work like that. You can't create your child like you want him to be. But the way that the no rules methodology comes in, it's loving and mentoring your children to be who they are and not who you want them to be. And this whole idea, this no rules, it doesn't mean just don't give them rules, but it's replaced with love and mentoring. And that's really what the no rules methodology is. And my conclusion, I wouldn't say that it's perfect, right? It's not for everyone. But it can be a solution for parents who are struggling, who don't know what to do with their children. And it can be a solution for me with my family. I'm going to try it out for my family with my new baby. So thank you so much.